it's just not working. Muscle building is a slow process, but I want to show you in this video how you can speed the process up as fast as possible. For the remainder of this video, I'm going to assume that you're already bulking or know how to bulk. If you don't, last Thursday's video, I did a video on talking a little bit about bulking, which I think you'd find helpful. You can watch that at the end of this video. If you want to learn how to build muscle or lose body fat, those are the two topics that I talk about on this channel, so I would consider subscribing. And at the very end of this video, I'm going to show you the number one thing that is going to slow down your progress and hold you back from building more muscle. I've got 8 big ideas in this video, starting with number 8, and I'm going to go down to number 1 and then the bonus at the end. So my number 8th tip is, when you're in the gym, if you're trying to speed muscle growth up, every single set you need to be focused on squeezing the muscle and letting the muscle stretch out. By focusing and really pushing yourself to the limit will allow you to get that extra little bit of progress that most other people don't get. Also, to speed up muscle growth, I want you to look at your total weekly volume. Can you be doing more volume? So typically speaking, the more you do, the more you will grow. Now obviously if you're already doing 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 sets a week of just one body part, then adding more volume is potentially going to have the opposite effects of that. But if you're someone that's doing less than 16 sets of one exercise per week, you might want to consider just adding a few more sets. If you're a beginner, you've only been training a few months, then stick to doing around 10 sets per week. In my last video, at the end of the video, I actually laid out a plan for you if you're a beginner or a little bit more advanced. I would go back to that video and watch that video at the end of this. Just write that down and don't forget it, because how much volume you're doing is very important. In that plan, I had beginners doing 9 sets per week of each body part, and I had more advanced people doing 18 sets per week. If you don't like my plan or don't like what I do, then stick to your own plan. That's fair enough. But make sure you're doing no less than 9 sets per week and no more than 20 sets per week of one body part. Tip number 7 is get more sleep. This is the one tip I don't see many people talking about when they're trying to talk about speeding up muscle growth, but you have to get more sleep. When you're talking about sleep, you have to split it up into 2 sections, which nobody does, and that's talking about health and talking about muscle growth. If you're talking about health, there's loads of studies that actually say you really only need to sleep about 6 hours per night for optimal health. If we're talking about building muscle, more is better. And like I said, more is not better for your health. 6 hours from the studies that I've read, and I've read a lot of them, seems to be the best option for somebody that's trying to live a longer life. But if you're trying to speed up muscle growth, you want to be getting minimum 8 hours a night. If you can get 9 or 10 and you have time to do that in your life, do that. Get 9 or 10 hours. You will grow more as a result of it. In terms of minimum amount per night, I recommend 7 hours. That's just because if we're training, if we're doing more than the average person is doing in the gym, then I think having that extra hour per night is necessary for people like us that are working out and training. Tip number 6 is more protein. You have to eat more protein. If you are bulking and you're trying to speed up the rate in which you build muscle, I want you to eat 1 gram per pound of body weight. So get your body weight in pounds, that's 170 let's say for you, multiply that by 1, and then you have how many grams of protein you need to eat per day. You can go over that number. I wouldn't go under that number if you're absolutely trying to put every single ounce of muscle that you can put on, then don't go under that number. We have to understand that protein is the only substance that you can put in your body that's going to help you recover from these intense training sessions. If you're doing 18 sets of chest per week, you have to recover from that, and there's only sleep and protein that's going to help you do that. The amount of muscle that you can build is only relative to how you can recover from your sessions. If you're not recovering from them, you can do 100 sets of chest a week, but it won't make any difference if you're not recovering from those sessions. Tip number 5 is do full body workouts instead of split routines. So if you're doing a full body workout, let's say you're going to the gym Monday, Wednesday and Friday and doing a full body workout, that means your training frequency is more, meaning you will build more muscle. You're also utilising protein synthesis better because your time away from training sessions is less further apart than it is when you're doing a split. If you're doing a split, that means you're training chest maybe twice a week, whereas with a full body workout you can train chest 3 times a week, But also what you have to remember is you're still doing the weekly volume exactly the same, whether you split that up into 3 sessions or 2 sessions, or some people even do 1 session. I understand it's very popular in the fitness space to do a split routine where you split all the body parts up onto separate days. One thing I want you to just consider when you're thinking about doing a full body workout or a split routine is the reason the split routines was invented in the first place are actually for people that take steroids. Now that doesn't mean everybody in the fitness industry that's doing a split routine takes steroids, because that's absolutely not true. But you do have to realise not everybody is on your side, not everybody is being honest with you, and there are people in this industry that portray an image that they don't take steroids, and in reality they do take steroids. And so I'm assuming that you're a natural athlete. If that's the case, I want you to train like a natural athlete should. Split routines have their place. I use them to change things up and hit the muscles from different angles. But primarily, if you're a natural lifter, you want to be utilising full body workouts. When you do full body workouts, you have an increase in testosterone, you have an increase in growth hormone, and you're also more anabolic. Tip number 4 is muscle confusion. Now this has been talked about a lot in the fitness space. It's quite controversial, but really it's just another term for changing things up all the time. The way the body works, and the body is so intelligent. If you go to the gym and do the same 3 sets of 10 reps on your bench press, your body will get used to that. Your body knows on Monday morning James is going to come to the gym, he's going to do exactly 10 reps of the bench press, and your body understands that. Then he's going to move over and do this exercise, and your body will adapt to that. It's exactly why when you went to the gym for the first time and did a bench press, your chest was sore for a few days after it, whereas now when you go you feel nothing. It's because your body will adapt to that. If you want to speed up that bulking process, what I recommend is changing things up. Confuse your body. If you're a beginner, absolutely don't do this. If you've been training under a year, you get good at your key lift. You keep doing what you're doing and stick to your plan. But if you've been training a good few years or more, what I recommend is to keep changing things up when you're on your bulk. So I want you to change the exercises up. I want you to change the intensity. I want you to change the rest time between each set. Sometimes do drop sets, sometimes do supersets, sometimes start with legs, then start with back the next workout, and just completely mix it all around. So your body really doesn't know what's going to happen when you go to the gym. This is going to spark some new muscle growth. What I like to do is do a 3-month bulk and then change it every month. So every 4 weeks, stick to a complete plan. And I left a plan at the end of last video like I mentioned earlier. But stick to your plan consistently for a month. After that month, completely change it all around. Change every single exercise around, and even change the weight. So if you was going for sort of 6 to 8 reps before, now go for 10 to 12 reps on your new exercises. Throw some drop sets in and just completely change everything up. Tip number 3, I'm going to talk about supplementation. Until your sleep, your training plan and your nutrition are totally on point, you're happy with your protein numbers, the types of whole foods that you're eating, you're consistent and happy with your training plan, and you're making progress, do not touch supplements. But when you've got those things locked in, you can utilize supplements to speed up muscle growth. The 2 supplements I recommend, and one of them I don't even really class as a supplement. One is a whey protein powder. That's going to allow you to spike your insulin after your workout, which is very important if you want to be more anabolic and build more muscle. It's also going to allow you to hit your protein numbers, which is very important. And the other supplement I recommend is creatine monohydrate. It's a very safe supplement to take, and I recommend anywhere between 3 and 10 grams of creatine a day. There is some myths about you have to cycle creatine and you can't take it all the time. That's a complete myth. You can totally do your research and look into that, and I recommend that you do. But you don't have to cycle creatine, just take 3 to 10 grams every day. And there's thousands of studies to prove that creatine helps you build more muscle. Tip number 2, to sort of add that extra little bit of speed to the muscle growth, is focus on the speed at which you're lifting the weight. And you can change that up like I said before, but what I want you to think about is lifting the weight up quite quickly. And this only applies to you if you're really happy with your form. If you're not happy with your form, if you think your form still needs a lot of work, I don't recommend doing this. But if your form's really good, let's say you're doing a bench press, I want you to actually explode on the way up. So go very quick with good form on the way up. So you're exploding and giving that explosive power to the muscle. But on the way down, on the eccentric part of the movement, on the lowering of the weight, go really slow. So that's also giving you that time under tension and adding more tension to that muscle, causing it to grow a little quicker. And my number one tip before the bonus tip is do the exercises that you feel best at doing. Yes, you do need to get good at all of the key lifts, your deadlift, squats, bench press, absolutely. However, and this will take some time to figure out what lifts you do best at, but what I want you to do is experiment, and sometimes you'll take 2 tricep exercises. You might do a dumbbell skull crusher and you might do an overhead extension. But for me, I might feel the dumbbell skull crusher really well. My triceps get a pump and I feel incredible on that exercise. Whereas the overhead dumbbell press, I might not feel it that well. I might feel it quite a lot in my elbows. And for you, you might be the complete opposite way around. You might hate the skull crushers, but you might do really well on the overhead extension. And so what I want you to do is do more of the exercises that you feel really well. So whatever muscle group you're trying to target, the exercises that you feel that muscle the most, do those exercises and get good at those exercises. My bonus tip is actually going to slow your muscle growth down, which is exactly the opposite of what we're trying to do here, is a few certain foods. Now, I'm all for a balanced diet and implementing all different kinds of foods that we like. However, when you're on a bulk, you're not really restrictive anyway. Is to stay sane. You don't want to be restricting yourself too much. When you're bulking, you don't have the same problem. You're eating loads of food you like. So I recommend trying your best to cut out most bread, a lot of chocolate. You can still have some chocolate, but try to cut a lot of it out, and especially beer. There are more foods that I recommend you cut out, but the reason I want you to cut those foods out is because all of those foods I just listed have been proven to decrease your testosterone levels and increase your estrogen levels. The last thing we need when we're trying to build muscle is decreased testosterone.